What's up, everybody? It's your boy Manny here, and on this edition of the Hoop Report, NAIA Women's Basketball Podcast, we're going to have our first season-focused episode, previewing three key games that I felt like are going to be kind of headliner, so to speak, for opening day. Before we get to that, definitely wanted to kind of give a quick take on the preseason coaches top 25 and the reactions with teams that we're in the top 25, we're receiving votes, we're not in it all together, stuff like that. So just a few of my takes real quick. Obviously, Dort, number one, no surprise there. The three-peat is alive and well. I think this team is going to be completely realistic for them to win a third straight national championship. Will they do it? It's 1 versus a million, so we will see if they can do it for 3 years in a row. But for the past 365 plus days, they have been the number one team in NAIA women's basketball, so no surprise that they're going to be picked as the same thing to start the next season. Bethel, number two. I'm very happy for Coach Chris Nelson and the team that they got the respect that they earned last year after what they did in the postseason. I think this is a completely warranted number two. I honestly think it's perfect. I'm glad they were able to be at least top 5, and I'm glad they were top 2. I think that they're going to be one of the best teams in the country all year, and I'm very excited to take it in and cover them throughout the season. Campbellsville, Revenge Tour. I think they're going to be a team that has a chip on their shoulder after how last season kind of ended for them, not being one of the only, I believe the only number one seed not to make it past. I believe it was the Sweet 16, if I'm not mistaken. So I think they're going to have a chip on their shoulder for sure. Going on, IWU, Indiana Wesleyan, falling at number 10. I thought it was a little low. I thought they would have been at least top 5, in my opinion, maybe even top 6, top 7. Number 10 for the Wildcats, this might be a situation similar to Marion last year, where Marion was the number one team in the polls the year before, so 2 years ago now, and then the preseason coaches poll came out last year. They were not ranked. They were not ranked. They were maybe even receiving votes, possibly, but I know they were not top 25. And then, they were receiving votes, and then from 1 week, they were now number 19, the top 20 in the country. So this might be a similar situation. I think IWU could jump the top 5 depending on their start of the season. But definitely it's kind of shocking that they are at number 10, not even comfortably in the top 10. So it's something to keep an eye on throughout the season and the next 2 weeks. Oregon Tech, number 14. I like it. Could have been a little bit higher. Could have been a top 10 team for me, especially with what you're returning from in-house. So not against it, but I do think they could have gone a little bit higher for sure for the Owls. Briar Cliff, number 20. Way too low. Way too low. I think they could have been. I'll settle for top 15, but I'm looking at top 12 at least. I understand new coach, even though it was a promotion and not necessarily a new coach. I understand the idea, and I get that, but at the same time, it's still Briar Cliff, and we're not looking at a new era, so to speak, fully. We're just looking at a new face to run the program and kind of build off of what was already there. So look for that one to be a stock riser. If we were buying stock on this, I'd definitely buy some stock on this Briar Cliff number going up very quickly, very soon. And then Southern Oregon, number 15. Again, I'm okay with it. Kind of similar to the Briar Cliff one. I'm okay with top 15. Could have been closer to top 10 in my opinion, top 12 maybe. But I'm not against it, but I don't love it either. I think Southern Oregon could have been a little bit higher and probably should have been. My biggest surprise, in my opinion, Lindsey Wilson, number 24. Congratulations to the Blue Raiders. Not from a standpoint of they don't deserve it, but just I don't know if they were going to get those type of votes, and I'm glad that they did, and putting some respect on the Blue Raiders early on in the season. So I'm glad for that. The national media is watching. They are watching, and I'm glad that the coaches and the Raiders and everybody in the committee were able to give this team their respect and the flowers that they earned last year. So I'm excited to see what they're able to do and build off of that this year. My biggest takeaway, but at the same time understandable takeaway, the Pats being number 25. You lose the Monday Sisters, you lose a lot from this team, and so the fact that they were top 25, I think, goes to show the respect that they have for the program and what they've done the past 3-4 years. But this is a team that is in jeopardy of falling out of the top 25, and I think, again, out of respect, they gave them that last spot. But at the same time, they could go up. Do I think it's going to be a top 15 team in the country, maybe even top 20? Probably not, depending on how they go in the conference. But at least they're top 25, and I think they are going to be one of the top 25 teams, maybe top 30 teams in the country. I don't think they're going to fall out completely from the national poll and national eye, but top 25 is going to be tough for the Pats this year for sure. And to wrap it up, I got a few receiving votes teams that I think we got to keep an eye on, whether they joined it and are now on kind of the radar for the committee, or they're going to get top 25 numbers within the next poll or two. Loyola, Rio Grande, and Providence, all three teams that I feel like they're going to go up. They're going to go up. Loyola just missed out the top 25 by, I believe, 3 to 4 spots. Rio Grande, same thing. I think they were in front of Loyola, as a matter of fact. And then Providence, they were a little bit lower, kind of shocking, in my opinion. But I think they will at least get closer to the edge of top 25, maybe number 26, 27 in the next polls, depending on how their season starts. Pikeville, y'all know how high I am on the Bears. I'm working on getting a coach's interview with them. The other team that could go up top 25, I don't know if they are. I think it's between 20 and 25. I don't see them going too high, but we'll see because they do have some really, really tough non-conference teams. So if they are able to handle business and get 1 or 2 wins, we could see that number going up. My neck in the woods, Florida Memorial, Southeastern, I think they're going to be top 25 teams for sure. I think they're kind of receiving votes just because they lost a lot. They lost a lot in Florida Memorial's case, 12 new players. You lost pretty much your entire rotation for the most part. Actually, you did lose your entire rotation, player of the year, all conference players, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of understand it. I'm glad they gave them the respect and gave the Sun the respect of putting them at least receiving votes because they were able to win against a Marion team. They were able to win a game in the national tournament. So, and you lose to Freed Hardeman in the national tournament, who was one of the best teams in the country. So number 6 in the country as of right now, as a matter of fact. So kind of understandable. Southeastern, same thing, losing some key players, Jody Mullins and NAIA Coleman. But again, respect being able to get back to the national tournament or being able to get to the national tournament last year and kind of build off of that. I'm glad they were able to get some respect there. Columbia College, kind of surprised, not going to lie. I thought they'd be at least in the top 25, maybe 20 to 25, or just on the cusp, maybe 26, 27. But being so far down, kind of middle of the pack of the receiving votes, not what I expected, but chip on their shoulder. So I'm excited to see what they do from that. My 2 teams, and my 3 teams, honestly, that I'm excited that they got in the receiving votes picture, Evangel, Huntington, and College of Idaho. I think all 3 teams are going to be due for, or in line, I should say, for a really, 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 really good season. I think they're going to have a great, great season. I think they're going to be able to turn some heads and shock some people in their non-conference schedule as well as their conference schedule. So look for those 3 teams to kind of continue to improve in the polls. Top 25 for all 3? No. 2 of them maybe, 1 of them for sure. Now, which one out of those 3? I think I would go College of Idaho just because they have the conference to also back them up. Because as we all know, you can only do what you do in your non-conference schedule. 3 to 5 games typically, maybe a little bit more if you're lucky. But after that, it's all about what's in your conference. And if your conference is just not looked at as one of the deeper, more competitive conferences, then it's hard for you to kind of grow off of that. College of Idaho being the Cascade, I think they're going to be able to do that and be able to build off of that when you've got teams like Southern Oregon, Lewis and Clark, Oregon Tech. So you're going to have a lot of games lined up to be able to play against top 25 opponents or caliber opponents. So I think they'll be for sure a top 25 team depending on how they do throughout the season. Evangel and Huntington, toss-up. Huntington, I think, is the next one out of these 3 just because the Crossroads, similar to what I talked about with the Cascade, same thing in the Crossroads, maybe even more in some people's opinion. You got Marion, you've got IWU, you've got all these teams that Spring Arbor, I think, is going to be a possible team that could get in the receiving votes picture, in my opinion. St. Francis is in there. So those 2 teams are kind of neck and neck. I kind of go College of Idaho just because of gut feeling, nothing necessarily from X's and O's. Just I believe that they have the ability to do that. But Huntington is going to be the next team, and then Evangel's the last team just because the KCAC might not be looked at on a national scene right now. Now, mid-season, end of the season could change, but as of right now, I don't think that people look at the KCAC as what it is compared to the Crossroads and Cascades of the world. That's going to do it for my kind of initial reactions to the coach's preseason poll. Again, nothing crazy. Just kind of wanted to give you guys my quick takes on what happened and what I'm very excited. I was very excited to see what was going to come about. There are a lot of other teams on here that could have easily been kind of talking points for me, but I kind of went with a few names that we didn't really touch on too much in the preseason polls in terms of deep diving because we knew what we were going to get for the most part. I know we talked a little bit about each of them, but kind of a broader picture lining us up for the opening day games and whatnot. So with that, I'll send you guys to the rest of the episode where I preview 3 games of the NAIA opening day. And happy opening day. Happy opening day. Welcome back. Basketball is back on the women's side of the NAIA, and I'm so happy for it. I'm so glad you guys are along with us for the ride. But with that being said, get you all now to the rest of the episode. What's up, Hoop Reporters? It's your boy Manny here, and welcome to another edition of the Hoop Report, the NAIA Women's Basketball Podcast, episode 17. Happy opening day in the NAIA. We're so excited to talk all the hoops that are going to be going on later tonight. Recording this Sunday. I know you guys are going to be watching it Thursday. Kind of a good way to prepare you all for what we feel like, or at least what I feel like, are going to be three very, very tough, very, very good games to take in the first official day of games being played. Not too many games going to be played today. I believe it's maybe 4 or 5 games in total. The weekend will make up for that. Don't you guys worry. Going to be doing it solo right now. Lex will be joining me for the weekend recap. We're going to be talking about today's games. Today's games are what we're going to be talking about today. 3 key games that I think will be a very good watch for anybody at home for 3 different reasons. And then we'll preview in our next episode, or recap, I mean, the weekend that was, and maybe preview a little bit of the weekend that is going to be for the following weekend. Give you all a quick update on what the plan is throughout the season. We do plan on doing 2 episodes per week. Mondays and Thursdays are going to be what we shoot for, to have some type of content video posted, whether it's me, Lex, our other co-hosts who will be announced at a later date, or a coach's interview, whatever it is going to be, or a player interview, or a little bit of both. Whatever that is, we plan on those 2 days being when episodes will drop, so you guys can kind of get used to hearing us, seeing us if you're on the YouTube, hearing us if you're on the Spotify, on those 2 days to kind of prepare you guys throughout the season. We're going to be talking about, again, 3 games that I feel like are going to be very, very good for watches for today's smaller batch of games. And we're also going to be previewing one of our new segments and kind of talking a little bit about something that we're going to be doing throughout the season, month to month, so to speak. The first thing that we're going to talk about, a thank you. Thank you to everybody that has been with us for the entire preseason. If you just joined us towards the end of it, welcome. We're glad to have you. And we're hoping that you guys are going to stick with us throughout this entire ride that we call the 2025-2026 season. It's been a lot of fun so far, and the games haven't even started yet. So wait until the games start. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we couldn't have gotten here without you guys. So we really appreciate the support. Instagram, podcast, Spotify, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. We appreciate you guys, and you guys honestly don't know how much we really do appreciate you guys. So thank you all so much for the support. Talked about the new segment, This or That. That is going to be the segment that I'm previewing today, or that I'm doing today, that will hopefully be something that we continue, especially if you guys let us know. Let us know down in the comments what segments you guys like, what segments you guys don't like, how you think we could tweak it. We're always open to suggestions, because, again, this is for you guys. This is for you guys, for your entertainment, as well as to inform you how good the NAIA women's basketball scene is at this level. This or That is literally what it sounds like. I'm going to talk about 2 possible outcomes per game, and I got to pick one or the other. That's all it is. It's nothing too confusing. It's nothing too crazy. Now, we've got 3 games lined up here. Game of the week, game of the day, really. Sleeper game of the day, which is a game that I feel like could be really good. Could be really good for maybe a couple of reasons, or could be a nice little storyline on what could be happening in the future for one of those 2 teams. And then Upset Alert. Me, Lex, and our other co-hosts, we all must pick an upset per week. We're going to do these every week. Only today is going to be, just because it's opening day, I'm going to keep it to 1 day, and then tomorrow we'll post our game of the week for the rest of the first week, and so on and so forth. We're going to be forced to pick an upset. We got to go on a limb here. We can't just be safe. We can't go chalk every single week. We got to be forced to pick an upset. Not necessarily a lower ranked team over a higher ranked team, or an unranked team over a ranked team. Just what we feel like is an upset. If we feel like your team for that specific week is going up against a team that is going to be the underdogs, we're going to call that an upset game. Now, whether we pick you or not is a different story. But we're going to talk about game of the day, sleeper game of the day, and upset alert. First one that we're going to talk about is Cumberlands of Tennessee hosting Oakwood Ambassadors. The this or that is, do Cumberlands win on the strength of their offense, or does Oakwood's Adams have a stellar opening day to combine with Keys, their reigning NAIA third-team All-American? This is going to be a very good game, very interesting game. Why? We're looking at 2 teams that are going to be somewhat defined, not fully defined, but somewhat defined by their offense. And what I mean by that is, on the Oakwood side, we know what Keys is going to bring us. Preseason player of the year in the HBCU, kind of could have penned that in, honestly, sharpied it in, whatever type of writing utensil you want to use that will stay permanently forever. 15 double-doubles last year, 2 30-10 games, 7 20-10 games. Only had 2 games where she scored under 10 points. The girl was a walking double-double rolling out of bed and going back to sleep right after she did that. Like, that is what she did all year. And you cannot, I could have easily said this or that, focusing on her, but she's just such a, you know what you're going to get from her. Like, you just know what you're going to get from her. My question is going to be for Trinisha Adams. Going to her senior year, she was picked to be in the second team in the preseason polls for the HBCU. She had 12 double-figure scoring games and 2 20-point games. The reason I went with her is because I know what Key's going to give me. Can I say the same for somebody else? And I'm going with Adams because you were picked to be in the preseason second team all-conference. So the coaches, they see something. They believe that you have the ability to do and be the Robin to Key's Batman. If that's the case, I like it. That would be the main driving force, in my opinion, in a win over Cumberlands of Tennessee. Why? Cumberlands of Tennessee is going to be a great team. They're a great team. They're a very good defensive team. And they're going to load up. They're going to understand. Their scouting report is going to say, we got to slow down Keys. Who wouldn't? Anybody knows that you got to slow down that presence in the post, in the offensive side of the ball. They shouldn't have the offense run through her for a majority of the game. She's going to be a force on the rebounds. You might have to send 2 people on the box. Like, we all know that you have to do that to slow her down. The only way to avoid that is, obviously, Key's going to have to adjust her game a little bit, but you have to have somebody else picking up the slack. And I feel like Adams is the number 1 person on that list. If she comes into this game and we've got a 15 or so point game for her, closer to 20 though, as close to 20 as you can get, maybe even surpassing 20, then we're looking, and I promise you it'll be a close game down the stretch. But if she doesn't have that good of a game and nobody else steps up from the roster, it could be a tough night for the ambassadors of Oakwood. For Cumberland, the offensive side is just a more general topic. It's just the offense. You know, I talked to Coach Mark Vaughn a few days ago. That interview will be coming out next week on Thursday. And we talked about it. Like, it was no secret. The defense was great, but the offense just was not up to par to, not only in the NAIA side of things, but the Mid-South specifically. Like, you have to be able to score. And this is the tricky part, or the main reason I like this for Game of the Week. We've got 2 different stylistic teams. The Cumberlands of Tennessee team, they like to get up and down. They like to run. I'm not saying Oakwood doesn't like to run, but with a player like Keys, you're not going to necessarily run a lot. It's going to be a lot more of a half court, slow it down, run our sets type of game. And that, I feel like, is or was the Achilles heel for Cumberlands last year. In the open court, granted, they had a lot of turnovers that they gave back to their opponents. They felt better in that side of things. Now, talking to Coach Mark Vaughn, it was about, hey, the focus was, we got to be better in our half-court offense. We got to be better at executing. We got to be better at taking care of the ball. All those things that will be magnified in a slower style game, because not that many possessions, not that many opportunities to attack in advantage basketball in the transition, whether 3-on-2, 4-on-3, 2-on-1, whatever the case may be. So you got to be able to work a defense. You got to be able to be comfortable late in shot clock situations. You got to be able to do those type of things. The defense is fine. Just like I know that Key's going to have a great game for Oakwood, I know Cumberland's defense is going to be very good. They're going to make Keys work for her 2010. She'll probably get on opening day, but not saying she's still going to get it. But it's going to be a lot harder and not going to be an easy 2010 by any stretch of the imagination. But it's the offense. Can the offense of Cumberland's prove that they've improved throughout the offseason? I'm not saying it's going to be a make or break type of game for either team. It's day one of game one for these 2 groups. But it would be a good showing and a step in the right direction if Cumberland's is able to show, hey, we're still trying to fine tune some kinks in the offense here and there, but you see the vision, you see the picture. We're going to get better as time goes on. Also, they're at home. So I kind of also got to give them a little bit of an edge. At home, in a tempo battle, I feel like Cumberlands of Tennessee is going to struggle a little bit, but they're going to be able to overcome it. I also think you've got a very key turnover rebound battle brewing as well. Yes, the offense is the main focus for me in this game. Whoever has a better offensive game from a standpoint of team for Cumberlands versus key players for Oakwood will most likely come out on top. The second bullet point is a combination of turnovers and rebounds. More so on the turnovers, though, because the rebound battle is going to be a sneaky battle. I don't think people are really going to be looking at it too much, but when you have a player like Keys who's going to corral a lot of these offensive and defensive rebounds. If you're the Cumberland, Tennessee team who averaged a very decent amount of rebounds last year, you got to make sure to keep her off the glass, leave her to one shot only. She can't rebound her own miss. She can't allow for offensive rebounds to lead out to open threes. Even though Oakwood was not that good of a 3-point shooting team, you still can't give them opportunities that are going to be momentum builders, momentum boosters throughout the game. The turnovers, though, is where I'm really looking at. Both teams average almost 20 turnovers a game. The reason I'm looking at that for this game, if Cumberlands of Tennessee gets into a game where the turnovers are getting high, getting close to 20, they could still win this game. Because in Oakwood's situation, their transition offense will be tested, going from offense to defense, defense to offense. I feel like the tempo, which again, I go back to that tempo side of things, because Oakwood is not naturally a fast-paced team compared to Cumberland's, if Cumberland's does have the turnover battle go against them, as long as it's not by too much and as long as it's not timely turnovers and costly ones throughout the game, I think they could overcome it. But with that being said, on the flip side, if Oakwood is able to take care of the ball and Cumberland, Tennessee is not able to do that, and even if their turnovers go up, if Cumberland, Tennessee has 5 more turnovers than Oakwood, we're looking at a very tough game down the stretch and probably Oakwood coming out with a win. But if Cumberland, Tennessee keeps their turnovers either even with or within a 1 or 2 number with Oakwood, I think that means that their offense was very sound. I think that they were taking care of the basketball and getting good quality shots. Let's say Cumberland has 10 turnovers in a 40-minute game. That's great. That's awesome, right? But their turnovers might also come from the shots that they're taking. Again, offense is going to be the focus for Cumberland, Tennessee. If they're taking bad shots, that to me is a turnover just as well, because long shots mean long rebounds. We're giving opportunities to the team to get buckets. That's not what we want to do. So there's a different ways we're looking at defining a turnover here. While the numbers might be specifically saying, oh, it wasn't that bad of a turnover game, I'll also be looking at the shot selection, the shot percentage for Cumberland, Tennessee, those type of things. For Oakwood, it's more turnovers. Are you taking care of the ball? Are you making bad passes? Are you making the right decisions? Those type of things. For Cumberland, Tennessee, it's not so much the turnovers that we're going to be not charted down on the stat sheet. It's more so the shooting that is going to really, can we get good quality shots, possession after possession? Because if there's a slower game, that means that you're not going to get extra opportunities throughout the game off transition buckets. So that's kind of where I'm looking at with this game for my pick. I'll pick one after each time that I'm done with the segments. I'll pick one. I'm going Cumberland, Tennessee. I think this group at home, you got to give them a little bit of an edge there. I think I'm always going to go with the team offense over individual players. Granted, one of those players was an NAIA All-American last year on the third team. The second player, while I think she could have a very good game, you're asking a lot. I think they will need maybe one more player for me to feel comfortable in saying it'll be a closer game. I don't know what the final score would be. I would guess, if you force me to, I'd say Cumberland is a win with, give me an 8-point win. 8-point win for Cumberland at home, excuse me. I think that's what this game kind of gives the gut feeling about. But it's going to be a great game. I think, again, two teams that maybe tempo is going to be the key driving force in a win or loss. But offense will be the name of the game. Team offense for Cumberlands versus individual pieces in your offense for Oakwood. We will see which one comes out on top. Now we head over to the next game, the sleeper game of the week. The sleeper game of the day is going to be Day-Philander Smith and Central Baptist College. This game, sleeper game of the day, because I feel like not a lot of people are going to talk about it, but it could be a very interesting game because, again, styles make fights. And CBC, you see it right there on the this or that. Can they prove that their defense has caught up to their offensive ability a little bit, or does Day-Philander Smith take advantage of a slow defensive battle? It's kind of straightforward as that sounds. Day-Philander Smith, I think there's 3 types of outcomes I see for this game. The first one is a flat-out shootout. It is an offensively focused game. The defense is not necessarily bad, but just the offense can't be stopped. Both teams are just trying to run and gun and get as many opportunities as they can. If that happens, I'm going Mustangs in a blowout. I'll be honest with you guys. I feel like their offense is just too much higher than what Day-Philander Smith at least showed last year. If it's a back and forth. Both teams played well on both sides of the ball. Both teams are working very good with the possession. Both teams are working on both sides of the on doing all the little things to try and win a basketball game. I lean towards the Mustangs. I think it'll be closer, maybe 60-40 type of game, maybe even 35-65, but I lean towards the Mustangs in that style. Now, if it's a slow down, grind it out, defensive type of game where it's more so not the offense that's doing well, it's the defense that's struggling, I go with Philander Smith. I think Philander Smith can win that type of game because CBC last year, they had 4 players all returning, all that are back, that put up a very good offensive performance. You had Reagan Head, 15 points per game, Aaliyah Grotjohn, 13 points per game almost, Addison Hudspeth, 9 points per game, and Riley Winnington, 9 points per game as well. Right there, you're talking about 15, 13, that's 28. 28 plus 9, that's quick math, 16, about 46, is what I think that is. So 46 points right there off the cusp, and you've got all 4 of them averaging over 34% from the field. In Reagan's case, she averaged 30% from the three-point line and 81% from the free throw line. 3-level scorer, obviously. The offense checks the boxes. Like, that's why I said in the shootout, I'm going Mustangs all the way. But the defense was the biggest hindrance for me in saying it's going to be a clean sweep. And they could take any 3 of those situations because the same team that was putting up a lot of points last year gave up a lot of points. Almost 76 points per game given up, 42% from the field of what their opponent shot, 30% from a three-point line of what their opponent shot, and they allowed 41 rebounds, 13 of which were offensive rebounds. So you're allowing points to be scored in both ways, within the arc and outside the arc. You're giving them second chance opportunities realistically almost every other possession, give or take. There's a lot of situations for me to say the defense is not a lot of work to be done. Philander Smith, the roster's still not out, so I'm kind of focusing on their defense because last year they allowed 56.9 opponents' points per game, 36% from the field, 25% from the three-point line. Their defense was better. Like, statistically, they were. And you don't even got to look at the rest of the stats. Just look at what your opponents were scoring. Again, who you play matters. I get all that. But we're going off the numbers. And the numbers say the Mustangs defense was almost 20 points worse than Philander's defense. 75.6 points per game and 56.9 points per game. Like, the numbers don't lie. And at 20, and we're not talking about even a 10-point difference where I would have been a little bit more comfortable saying Mustangs could take this one no matter type of game it turns out to be. But almost 20, that's a little different. And especially when you look at the situation of there's no real point that I can make where I think, oh, if this part of the defense was really good, it's just that this other, like, there's a lot. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There's a lot that they can improve on. If they do that, and it's a situation where I would call their offense not elite, very close. I'd say very good, even great. Their defense has to get at least average. You give me an average defensive performance from the Mustangs in this game, they win by at least 10 points. This is what that's what I feel. That's what my gut is telling me. That's what the numbers I feel like are guiding me towards. But you cannot rely solely on your offense. I understand sometimes your best defense is a great offense. And I get that too. And if that's what the Mustangs are going to go with, I'm here for it. You know, it's game 1. I'm going off of just kind of a basic understanding of the game of basketball. If the season goes on and we realize, hey, the Mustangs just are going to outgun you, cool. I'm here for it. I love some offensive firepower throughout the season. But I don't know if that's what they're trying to go for. Maybe that kind of happens organically. And again, if that does, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for this game, because I do see the Mustangs winning 2 out of those 3 type of scenarios, and because, again, the Mustangs are at home, and there's a higher chance that the offense is boosted by the home crowd than Philander Smith defense getting boosted on the road or their offense getting boosted on the road, being the road team, I'm going with the Mustangs. Again, if it's a slower style game, though, that's where I feel like the Mustangs will really struggle and really kind of be backs against the wall. But if it's a shootout or an even style back and forth, I think the Mustangs are able to be 10-point favorites in this one. I am looking at Reagan Head. I do think she's got to lead the charge offensively. I'm going to need about a 20-10 game. I'm going to put that out there. She put up 9.6 rebounds per game last year, so it's completely possible. But I think she could come out the guns blazing, 20-10 on efficient scoring. If that's the case, I don't also see anybody on Day-Philander Smith being able to match that, and that's the biggest nod I can give to the Mustangs. Their offense is really good because they've got some really good pieces on there. I know if Lex was here right now, he'd be saying the same thing. So I'm going Mustangs in a interesting style make fights type of sleeper game of the day for opening day. Last game we'll talk about, and then we will kind of lead you guys go on your day. Upset alert. My upset alert team for this game, for this day, is going to be Georgia Gwinnett versus Brenau. They'll be hosting the Tigers. This or that is simple. Georgia Gwinnett starts the program off with a win, or Brenau welcomes the Grizz with a dominant loss. Now, the key word, dominant. Dominant to me, 20+. Can the Tigers have a 20-point win over the Grizz? It could. It could happen. But y'all know me. Not a lot of games on today. And I was kind of struggling trying to figure out an upset because when I'm recording this on a Sunday, no polls have been posted yet. No preseason talks have been made yet. You know, I might have my idea who should be in the top 25, who should be receiving votes. I think it's safe to say neither one of these teams are going to be in it. And safe to say I don't think any of the teams that are playing today are going to be in it. Again, trying to remember the schedule off the top of my head. Now, this weekend we'll see some top 25 teams playing. Don't you guys worry about that. But for me, the upset name comes from the fact that Georgia Gwinnett has never played a game of basketball with the Grizz, the GGC logo across the chest of the players. So by that standard, you're the underdogs. This is your first time ever stepping in an NAIA basketball game, so I'm going to give you the underdog title. Because of that, and again, y'all know I'm the emotional one here. I'm the sensitive one. I'm the one that's going to, I'm the one that's always going to say you cannot quantify the mental, emotional side of any sport, and let alone basketball, a sport that is 90% mental. Only 10% of it is skill, if we're being honest here. Like, especially at this level, everybody that gets to this level can hoop. Everybody can score. Everybody can put the ball on the ground. Everybody can play defense. Everybody can shoot. Everybody can do it to some degree on this level. It comes down to the mental side of the game, and it comes down to the emotional side of the game. And I feel like one of two things is going to happen today for Georgia Gwinnett. Either they come out fired up by that home crowd, fired up by being the first players to ever play a game in Georgia Gwinnett basketball history, fired up by the opportunity to have your first game of the season be your home opener and be your first win of the season all together. And they just go out there and have a great game. Again, I just said win. It could be a 1-point win, could be a 10-point win, could be a 20-point win. They're just going to win. The flip side is all those things I just said, but the moment's too high. The lights are too bright, so to speak. And the ball doesn't want to go in the basket and not get any bounces. The other team just comes out with a chip on their shoulder because while we're all in the NAIA happy to have Georgia Gwinnett and we're all happy to have another team in the basketball world on the women's side and the men's side, no team wants to be the first team. You know, it's just like when there's a team on a losing streak, no matter if they're in your conference or not, you don't want to be the one they lose to. Remember Kyle Kuzma made that tweet out a few years ago when I believe it was the Sixers that were on their losing skid. And he said that we don't want to be the one. And guess what? They ended up being the ones. I think he was with the Wizards at the time. No team wants to be the first one. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Like, some team's got to be the first one. But no team wants to be the first one. So Brenau, I think, will have a little slight chip on their shoulder. Not from a disrespectful thing, but they understand that they don't want to be that first team. They don't want to be the team that for what will forever be known as the first team that GGC ever beat in women's basketball. So there's that element of it too, where the Tigers come in, the ball doesn't want to go in. I always say in these type of games, get your first one. Get your first make, whether it's a free throw, a layup, a jumper, whatever it is. If GGC starts the game out and they can't get that first one, and they look up and it's 6-0, 8-0, could be a rough night. Now you're fighting back. That 6-8 deficit can feel like 10-12 at times, be just the way the game works. But if GGC comes out, gets their first bucket, even if they get on the first possession, I think that's going to skyrocket their confidence, their energy, and they're going to go off and really have a great game. For the Tigers, I'm looking at Ana Galita, Christina Peach, Sarah Grace. Those three are my key players for the Tigers to try and come out with this victory. Again, dominant is the word. Dominant means 20 plus. I would need all three of those ladies at least 12 points right there. All three of them. Puts you at 36. 36. Right? I think that's completely possible for Anna. She averaged 12 last season. She had 14 double-figure scoring games, 3 20s, and a 30 ball. I think that's completely possible for Christina Peach. She averaged 11, 13 double figures, 3 20s, and a 30 ball. I'm looking at you, Sarah. Averaged 9 points per game last year. Now, you did have 6 double-figure scoring games and 2 20-point performances. So you're going to be my X factor for those big three. For that three that I should say. I think Anna and Christina could get their averages from last year, 12 and 11 at least. So now you got to get around 12 to 13. Can you do that? I would love to see it. If that happens, I think the Tigers get their dominant win. But if GGC comes out, again, I don't know any of the girls on the team. I don't know, with the style. I don't know any of that stuff. I'm going in there blind just like the rest of us are. If they can hold those three to under their averages, especially that last one, especially for Sarah, who was averaging under 10 points per game last year, I think that's going to be very important. They're going to have a very realistic chance of winning this basketball game, and I'm going with them to pull off the again, upset just because it's their first game ever in the NAIA. Another note for the Tigers, I know I talked about the offense. The other reason I'm going with GGC, the defense for the Tigers was not that great last year. You allowed 66 points per game by your opponents, 38.7% from the field, and then 31.4% from the three-point line. Using that baseline of scoring, so 66 points per game for your opponents, the team allowed over that 11 times last year. So 11 times teams scored either 67 or more points. The team also averaged, on the road, 38.5 rebounds per game, which is not bad. Could be better, but not bad. But 19.3 turnovers. In a raucous crowd that I think will be the case for GGC, or in favor of GGC, I should say, I could see that turnover bug coming back and biting the Tigers. Maybe not 19, 15, 14. It's a lot. And in a hostile environment, those 14 to 15 could feel like 20 to 25. Because every turnover, you hear the crowd go crazy. Every transition bucket, you hear the crowd go crazy. Every boom you hear on every wing three or corner three off the bucket, off the transition push, just feels like a gut punch after gut punch. And at some point, it will catch up to you. So, it's a defensive question for me for Brenau more than anything. Because if Brenau has a bad defensive game, again, not necessarily saying that GGC's offense is amazing and it's going to be top tier. No, I'm not saying that. I'm going off of what we know. And what we know from last year was the Tigers were not a great defensive team. The numbers don't lie. If they have a similar performance today, it's going to be a tough way for them to win. An offensive performance by those three players that I mentioned, coupled with a good defensive performance where you hold GGC to under 66 points per game, at least. Now we're looking at the Tigers possibly coming out with the victory. Now we're looking at them possibly coming out with the win. But going off of what happened last year, I think GGC has the ability to at least get 66 points per game. And who else for the Tigers will step up in the scoring department, in the offensive department? Because I just pointed out 36 points between the three ladies that I mentioned in Anna, Christina, and Sarah. You still got to make at least another 30 by the rest of the team. If that's the recipe, 36 from the three ladies, a good defensive performance, and the rest of the offense coming together as a whole, gets you your dominant win, getting 20 plus. But if even one of those things does not happen, I think GGC completely has a chance of winning this game. And I'm going to go 5. I'm going to go 5-point win for GGC. Again, they are my pick. I'm going all 3 home teams to open the season today. I'm going to go with the home team because I feel like opening day and opening your season at home is something that you can't really quantify, again, like I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to go with all the home teams winning. But the GGC home team has a little bit more to play for. Has a little bit more, again, a little more excitement to them. And so that's what I'm going to go. That's why I'm going to go with them for Brenau's defense not being the greatest and the first ever game atmosphere for GGC at home. With that being said, for this game, I do want to say special shout out to our buddy Junior, who runs the NAIA Men's Hoop Report accounts and does the Road to Muni podcast over on YouTube. Make sure you guys go follow that as well. He will be on site for the GGC games, both men's and women's. He's going to help out with some content for us, getting some interviews, getting some sound bites, and possibly doing some live statting throughout the game, depending on if he has time for that as well. But he'll be on campus. So if you are listening to this and you're at GGC or you're going to go to the game, make sure you stop by. Say hi to Junior. Let him know that Manny sent you, so he knows where you came from. But just wanted to let you all know that he will be there, and we'll hopefully be getting up some content for you guys on the Twitter and on the Instagram throughout the night. But that's going to do it for this first season-focused episode of the Hoop Report. Very excited for what is to come. Again, 2 episodes per week. That's the goal. That's what we're going to stick with. However we have to do it, we will do it. Consistency has been the number one thing that I've always said on this podcast, with this organization, with this team. Consistency, consistency, consistency. We will find a way to be consistent and get those 2 episodes out to you every single Monday and Thursday. So you have our word with that. We appreciate all the support throughout preseason. We appreciate all the excitement you guys have helped us generate into the season. And the season is here. Make sure you guys follow along throughout the day. Make sure you guys follow on throughout the weekend. And we will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.